Henry flung himself into his chair, too enraged to speak. The Queen remained standing, and he did not invite her to sit. The lace at the top of her gown stirred with her steady breath. She merely touched the rosary that hung from her waist with her forefinger. She could not be faulted for dignity or presence. Henry turned to her, icily angry.
"Do you know what we will have to do, if we want to seize this opportunity which God has given to us, and which your nephew is about to throw away?"
She shook her head in silence.
"We will have to raise a huge tax. We will have to muster another army. We will have to mount another expedition to France, and we will have to fight another war. And we will have to do this alone and without support, because your nephew, madam, fights and wins one of the most lucky victories that could ever come to a king, and then plays ducks and drakes with it, skims it away off the waves as if victory was a pebble on the beach."
Even at that, she did not move, but her patience only inflamed him more. He leapt down from his chair again, and there was a little gasp as he flung himself towards her. For a moment I even thought he might strike her, but it was a pointing finger, not a fist, which he got in the face.
"And you do not order him to be faithful to me?"
"I do," she said through half-closed lips. "I commend him to remember our alliance."
Behind her, Cardinal Wolsey shook his head in denial. "You lie!" Henry yelled at the Queen. "You are a Spanish princess more than an English queen."
"God knows that I am a faithful wife and Englishwoman," she replied. Henry flung himself away, and there was a sudden flurry as the court threw themselves out of his path and dropped into curtsies and bows. His gentlemen bowed briskly to the Queen and followed his impetuous progress, but he checked at the door.
"I shall not forget this," he shouted back at the Queen. "I shall neither forgive nor forget your nephew's insult to me, nor shall I forgive or forget your behaviour, your damned, treasonous behaviour."
She sank slowly and beautifully into her deep regal curtsy and held it like a dancer until Henry swore and banged out of the door. Only then did she rise up and look thoughtfully around her, at all of us who had witnessed her humiliation and who now looked away from her that she might not claim our service. At dinner the next night, I saw the King's eyes on me as I walked demurely into the great hall behind the Queen. After dinner, when they cleared a space for dancing, he came over to me, walking past the Queen, all but turning his back on her as he stood before me and claimed me for a dance. There was a little rustle of attention as he took me out onto the dance floor.
"The Volta,"
Henry said over his shoulder, and the other dancers, who had been readying to form into a set and dance with us, fell back and formed a circle to watch instead. It was a dance like no other, a dance of seduction. Henry did not take his blue eyes off my face. He danced towards me, stamped his foot and clapped his hands, as if he would strip me naked then and there before the whole court. I banished the thought of the watching Queen from my mind. I kept my head up and my eyes fixed on the King, and I danced towards him, the sly, tripping steps, with a sway of my hips and a turn of my head. We faced one another, and he snatched me up in the air and held me. There was a ripple of applause. He lowered me gently to my feet, and I felt my cheeks burning with a potent combination of self-consciousness, triumph, and desire. We parted to the beat of the tabor, and then came back as the dance turned our steps towards each other again. Once again he threw me up in the air, and this time slid me down, so that my body was pressed against his. I felt him down every inch of my body, his chest, his hose, his legs. We paused, our faces so close that if he had leaned forward he could have kissed me. I felt his breath on my face, and then he said very quietly, "My chamber. Come at once." He took me to bed that night, and most of the nights that followed, with a steady desire. I should have been happy. Certainly my mother and my father and my uncle and even George were delighted that I was the King's first choice once more, and that everyone in the court was